Aries, the stray dog, brings a gift to the man who fed him and gave him a home. One day, a skinny stray dog showed up at the door of Ceyhun Sadr's home appliance shop in Turkey. Sadr, an animal lover, didn't hesitate. He welcomed the dog and gave him a bowl of food. That small act of kindness was the start of a beautiful friendship. After that first meeting, the dog started coming back to the shop every day. Sadr always greeted him with food, water, and love. These visits quickly became the best part of Sadr's day. "I named him Aries," Sadr said. "He always comes to me, and I feed him." Although Sadr couldn't adopt Aries officially, their bond grew stronger. Aries wandered around the neighborhood but always found his way back to the shop. "He comes and goes, but he always comes back to me," Sadr said. One day, even a Google Street View camera caught Aries relaxing outside the shop, showing how much the dog loved being there. Sadr was happy knowing Aries was no longer hungry or alone, but one day, Aries surprised him with something unforgettable. Instead of coming to ask for food, Aries showed up with a gift in his mouth. It was a baked chicken drumstick, something most dogs would have eaten right away, but Aries had brought it to Sadr as a thank you. "I cried," Sadr said. "At the age of 40, I was crying. Love still exists. Loyalty still exists." Sadr made sure Aries knew how much his gift meant. Now, Aries is a different dog. He's no longer the skinny stray who showed up years ago. He's healthy, happy, and always has a place where he's loved. In caring for Aries, Sadr found more than just a friend. He found purpose. "Aries is my brother, and I am his," Sadr said. "He is more human to me than many people." Man rescued sheep from mountain with 88 pounds of wool. 3 years ago, a hiker was exploring Mount Alexander in Victoria, Australia, when something unusual caught his eye. At first, it looked like a huge pile of wool lying on the ground. Curious, he went closer, only to jump back when he saw a pair of eyes staring out from the heap. It was a sheep. He was completely covered in dirty, matted wool, so much so that he couldn't even stand. The poor thing had clearly given up hope that anyone would stop to help. But thankfully, this hiker wasn't about to walk away. Determined to save the sheep, the hiker called Edgar's Mission, a local farm animal sanctuary. He explained the situation and shared photos of the sheep, who would later be named Alex. When the team at the sanctuary saw the pictures, they couldn't believe their eyes. "Oh, how our hearts sank," they later wrote. "He was just buried under so much wool." Rescuing Alex wasn't going to be easy. Between the sheep's own weight and the thick layers of fleece, he was far too heavy for one person to move. But that didn't stop the team at Edgar's Mission. They grabbed a stretcher and headed straight to the mountain. When they found Alex, he was lying on the ground, exhausted and helpless. Together, they carefully lifted him onto the stretcher and carried him to their van. The founder of Edgar's Mission, Pam Ahern, stayed by Alex's side, offering him water and comforting him as they made their way back to the sanctuary. Alex was scared, and who could blame him? He wasn't used to being around people, and everything was new and overwhelming. Pam spoke to him softly, promising that he would soon feel better and that his heavy coat would be gone. As soon as they arrived at the sanctuary, the team got to work. They needed to remove Alex's fleece as quickly as possible, but it wasn't a simple task. The wool was so thick and matted that it took hours to carefully shave it off without hurting him. "I lifted the wool away from his eye, and he looked right at me," Pam said. "At that moment, I thought, you're going to live." Slowly but surely, Alex started to look like a completely different sheep. By the time they finished, the team was stunned by what they saw. Alex's wool alone weighed 88 pounds, nearly as much as Alex did without it. After his haircut, Alex was given a warm jacket to wear. The team placed him in a cozy pen with 2 other sheep, Chloe and Molly Brown, so he wouldn't feel alone. At first, Alex was weak and unsure, but little by little, he started to recover. With plenty of rest, good food, and the companionship of his new sheep friends, Alex's confidence began to grow. It's now been 3 years since that day on Mount Alexander, and Alex is living a happy, peaceful life at Edgar's Mission. He spends his days munching on hay, relaxing in the sunshine, and hanging out with Chloe and Molly Brown. It may not seem like much, but for Alex, every day is a gift. He's safe, loved, and finally free from the heavy burden he once carried. The weight of the world has been lifted off his back, Pam said, and Alex couldn't be more grateful to the people who saved him. Blind cat, Clue finds safety and love for herself and her kittens. A blind cat named Clue has finally found a safe place for herself and her 3 kittens after spending her whole life struggling outside. It all started when Coastal Bend Cat Rescue, CBCR, in Corpus Christi, Texas, got a call about a family of cats that needed help. Clue was seen wandering outside an elderly couple's home. When their son came over to visit, he noticed something different about her. Her eyes seemed to be closed. Even though she couldn't see, Clue led him straight to her little hiding spot. There, he found 3 tiny kittens that she had been taking care of. He knew they all needed help, so he reached out to CBCR right away. At first, we thought her eyes were shut because of an infection, explained Mary Huckabee, CBCR's manager. But either way, we knew we had to help her and her babies. As soon as a foster home was ready, Clue and her kittens were brought in. The kittens were very weak, and they had trouble breathing because of infections. Clue herself was tired and thin, but even though she had been through a lot, she ate all the food she was given and then curled up in her new bed while her kittens snuggled close to her. When Clue's eyes were cleaned, they realized something surprising. She wasn't sick. She was completely blind. The vet thinks she was born with tiny or missing eyes, which is why she can't see, Mary said. She'll need surgery to stop future problems, but not being able to see doesn't seem to slow her down. Even though Clue couldn't see, she was very protective of her kittens. As the kittens started to feel better and grow stronger, they became curious and started moving around more. But Clue always listened carefully to where they were and made sure they stayed close. If one wandered too far, she would guide them back to their safe spot. She kept trying to make them stay in one place, Mary said, but when they started exploring, she realized she couldn't stop them anymore. Over the next few weeks, the kittens, Candyland, Monopoly, and Chutes and Ladders, started showing their personalities. Candyland became the brave one, always exploring and meowing for attention. Monopoly liked belly rubs and loved playing with her sisters. Chutes and Ladders, who was a little shy at first, warmed up and turned into a cuddle bug. As for Clue, she has fully embraced her new life. After living outside for so long, she now enjoys soft beds, head scratches, and full bowls of food. She figured out how to use the litter box right away, Mary shared. She's loving her new life and is doing so well. The kittens are growing fast, learning new things, and getting closer to finding forever homes. Clue is also getting ready for her surgery and will soon be free from any more health worries. Clue's days of struggling are finally over. She is safe, loved, and living the peaceful life she always deserved. Her little family's story shows that no matter how tough life gets, there's always hope for a happy ending.